Hello everyone, welcome again to TGP1. It's week 2, we're at China and Azerbaijan this time, and the championship now in full speed as we approach the second week of action. And we are starting off in China, a circuit where the winner has gone to win the title in the last 3 seasons. However, we see different pole sitters here. Normally we've only had Softy, who's had 2 poles in the last 8 seasons in the PS4 era. So, who will we see in pole this time? Already, as you can see, 7 minutes in, Softy has so far set the pace, 3/10 ahead of Josh, but Matt and Jake aren't far behind. So, 2 new entries this week. We've got Smoky Jays and Bulletproof, who have both raced in TGP1 before. They're back this week in the Toro Rosso. It's good to see them both back. Jonas, hello. Who is your money on this week? Good to have you back.
Good evening and thanks for welcome. I'm going to say that it could be Softy here in China. He's very strong pretty much everywhere it seems. He's been working hard since the first week. But I think he'd be a bit disappointed having thrown away a possible win in Bahrain by having a silly couple of accidents on his own making, really. So I think he'd be determined to make up for that lost opportunity, and I think he'll be able to get the first win of the season for himself here in China.
Well, Softy so far yet to win a race this season. Came very close in Bahrain. He did spin off from the front on his own on the opening lap at Bahrain, which he was absolutely gutted by. In the end, I think he went on to finish around 8th or 9th, but he is still 3rd in the championship. It's James who leads the way, by the way. He's currently down to 13th in qualifying, but he had a fantastic strategy in Bahrain. Started on the soft tyres, qualified in 12th, but did the reverse strategy. Came in and, well, went on to win the race in what was a frantic final few laps, Jonathan. That race has to be a contender for race of the season already. 2 races in.
Yeah, you'd have to say 2 races, not difficult to choose one or the other, but Bahrain definitely was the highlight of week 1. The ferocious 4-car battle for the win of the final few laps, with all 4 being separated by less than a second across the line. And in fact, Aiden, who led into the start of the last sector, didn't even finish on the podium, having been muscled out the way by James at the second to last corner and stealing that race win from the grid.
Yeah, it was a disappointing end for Aiden. He go into the last lap as the leader, but in the end finished in 4th. It was 2 4th places from the reigning TGP2 champion, of course, in his first season in TGP1. And we spoke to him a little earlier on, and this is what he had to say going into this week.
Yeah, looking forward to these races. I think we've still got a bit to do setup wise. I think the car's still a bit unstable. It's not as stable as I'd like it to be, especially at China on the middle side. So we still have some room to improve there. But I think both cars are looking strong, and hopefully get some points that we did in the first week. Hopefully improve on the 2 P4s and we get a podium. Maybe get a race winner if we're lucky. We could have had one last week, but unfortunately went out of our hands. But going into China, it's going to be tough on the tyres, it's going to be tough on the drivers as well. Baku, the concentration around there, collapse of it, and the wall, so it's going to be a tested week, I think, for the drivers in TGP1 and in TGP2.
Well, while Aiden was chatting there, huge development. I believe I saw it. Softy has a 5-place grid penalty. Did you see that, Jonas?
Yep, I did see that pop up. That was a legal block, and it looked like he held up the Toro Rosso Bulletproof, who seemed to be... Well, it says he's on an outlap, so I don't know if it was him or maybe the other Toro Rosso Smoky Jays, but Toro Rosso definitely held up, and the penalty flashed up by race control, and that would put Softy at the moment down to 6th place on the grid behind his own teammate Jack Pearson, who currently is 6th, as most of the field are now starting what will be their 2nd run.
Wow, well, if that is the case, Softy, as things stand, will start in 6th position. He's currently on pole by 3/10, which is a huge statement to Josh, who many believe is still the runaway favourite. As Paul crosses line now to go 4th. A good lap from his Sauber, still half a second back from Softy. But it's not a bad position to start in as he pulls out the way, because I believe other cars. Bulletproof goes through. And now Bulletproof will look to himself get a high qualifying position. He should be one to watch this race. And with Softy now down in 6th position at best. Wow, this race has been thrown wide open as Jay goes 2nd. And now Josh goes quicker even still by 4/10. What a lap of 1:30.0. Is that a quick lap, Jonas? Are we going to see quicker than that? Or do you think that's going to be the time to beat?
I think that might just be the time to beat. That is a big statement there by VSR Josh, who will be looking to get his 2nd win of the season, having won the opening race in Australia. I don't think I've seen anyone hit the 29s throughout the recent week when they're all practicing, so that is a massive statement there by the Haas.
Wow, what a lap from Josh as Phil goes into 4th, Matt in 5th. We've got Yellow Flag in sector 2, not sure that's for, but James at the moment down in 14th, the race winner, the championship leader. after Bahrain. Currently in 14th. Is he going to go for a similar strategy? What's tyre going to be like here, John? Is it going to be a case of the tyres sort of going after 1 or 2 laps? Because it's pretty demanding on the tyres, I believe.
Yeah, going back on previous games, the Chinese circuit always was a massive killer for the tyres. This is the ultra soft sort of tyres to pick, as Matt now takes pole by just a few hundredths in the Williams from VSR Josh with a 1:30.055, so he's just proved me instantly wrong with my prediction. But going back to the tyres, it's quite an interesting one because it's not the soft tyre that is the slower tyre that can be used in this qualifying session. It's actually the medium tyre, the hardest of all, so there is a big gap in the tyre compounds for qualifying, so seeing James and Martin at the moment quite a bit off the pace isn't quite so surprising, but no doubt they have a strategy in mind for the race. James is one who likes to utilise the alternate strategy, and Martin's been known to do it in the past as well, so it's not too surprised to see him down there compared to the rest of the grid on Ultrasofts. But one big notable name was Bartu down in 13th place. He's now gone up to 8th, but I think Sauber just underperforming a little bit there. Probably expected a bit better than they had, but it is quite close in that gap between Jake in 5th place and 10th place Mike. The McLaren's bookend in the middle of the field within 3/10 of each other, so it's still mightily competitive as always.
Well, with that 1:30.4 softy, he was on provisional pole. He was going to drop to P6 with his penalty. Now he's going to drop to P9 with his penalty. He's currently down to 4th. He's got to find 4/10 if he's to beat the guys ahead. He's going to want to get a higher position as he can. With, of course, the penalty. And Dan the Man spun it on his lap. We saw it happen in Australia, and it's happened again in China. Dan the Man, and he's correct. He's failed in trying to correct that spin. Got to be careful not to rejoin onto the racing line in a dangerous position as Bulletproof goes through. But Dan the Man, for the second week in a row, always lost egg energy. Dan's really struggling out there. If you can hear me, Dan, fucking get it together. Oh, apologies. Did not mean to swear, Jonas. I've done a you from last week. Oh, Jesus!
Oh my God!
I don't know what grip Dan's got on that car, but it's not a lot. And he's in the wall, and he's round. And Bulletproof, I fear, would have been scared for his life there. I'm glad we've stuck with this. Dan the Man, not having the best qualifying so far. Down in 11th. There's Matt and Josh, Bullet, Sophie and Jake all prepare now for their final runs. They'll be in the pits getting ready. John, is on a game like this, setting your lap last, is that an advantage anyway? Like, is it in real life? Obviously, the track can, adjust to the tyres and stuff. But here, is it really make a difference, or does it not really matter? It's just about clean air.
I think mainly what I've seen so far, a lot of cars during their qualifying laps have come out to start their runs right in the middle of a heavy bit of traffic. So, like, you have 4 or 5 cars all on the same bit of tarmac. So I think, while in real life, yes, getting out at the end of the session with the grips at its best is important, I think just getting that clear air in a session such as this is just as important, if not more important, as it would allow for a clear run and no distractions from any cars in front on their own laps, as we now see James retiring. So he will only be 14th at best, but again, like I said earlier, he's on the alternate strategy. That's probably his plan, to just stay out the madness at the start and pick up the places as the race goes along. I think it's worth pointing out, I guess a special mention to Bulletproof, his first race back in GP1 after a while away, and he's within a 10th of pole in 3rd place, which is hugely impressive.
Well, as you reported before, Softy is not pleased with Bullet. He believes, he's already reported to the stewards, he believes that Bullet was slow behind him, and that's caused the game to give Softy a penalty for impeding. So, bit of an issue there for the Renault driver, and as things stand, he is going to be down in 9th. James is retired during qualifying. He's down in 14th. And, of course, he's had the most wins here. He's had the most race wins here of 4 in the past, along with Ben. But in recent times, I think we've had different winners every season for the last 5 seasons. Chris, Andy, Jake, James and Odems, and Josh or Matt are looking good to join that list this week. Ash Dawson is running late, and he's joining us for the race. Jonas, if you could invite him while I chit-chat. I believe you can do that, can you? Or can you not? If not, I'll have to get someone else to chuck him an invite.
Don't believe I can. No, I cannot.
You cannot. I'll have to get a driver to do that. So, we have got Softy and Jake and Phil all now on their hot laps as a Ferrari gets out of the way. This is Jake's lap, needs to make it a good one. He had a 2nd place finish in Bahrain. Will want to build on that this time out. A former champion, of course, won 2 seasons ago. Odems then came along and knocked him off the top. Jake struggling last season, but this season looks to be back to similar pace. Maybe not right at the front, but it's definitely going to be challenging for wins, and I'd expect him to take 1 or 2 this season. On board of Jake, John, is trying to take over and commentate on this final half of the lap.
Yes, of course. So we're going through the double left-hander at the end of sector 2 here as we come towards the end of the sector. This tight, just short straight before this very tight, twisty and irritating little section as you go left, then the massively long right where it takes an absolute age to really get the power down to get onto the over kilometre long back straight. DRS opens just underneath that advertising board and just up ahead there's a car weaving in front, but I don't think they'll get in the way as he now hits DRS. It's interesting to point out, according to his ERS output, he's not in the max settings, so that might be an interesting tactic as he comes down towards the braking zone. First get a little lock up, gets around the apex and onto the gas. Hopefully it only stays out of the way, just about does. As Softy now goes pole 129.9, but here we are with Jake around the last corner. Doesn't take too much curb on the exit and run wide and lose time as he now crosses the line and improves but doesn't gain a position. He stays in P5 at 130.491. He's still quite a few tenths behind the leading pack as Softy is obviously now retired from the session. His work is done. It's worth pointing out the top second, third and fourth are on outlaps. I can tell you VSR Josh is furthest around the track at the moment, just before the last corner. Last couple of corners, trying to get some clear air. A lot of cars around us. Jake and Phil have now retired. We've got Smokey J's on the lap in P7, and he's just coming towards the last corner now. Quite a bit of traffic in front, but I don't think it's going to hold him up. Runs a little wide at the exit, crosses the DRS line, gets across and stays P7. That was ever so slightly slower. And now we just see all the main runners just starting their final laps. Dan the man on the lap, back out there. Car fixed after that silly little spin he had. As he goes through the middle sector. I'm just trying to see if anyone else is on a critical lap at the moment. Well, they're all critical laps at the end of qualifying. VSR is first of the main runners to start his final lap. He's in the first sector right now. But let's have a look at Dan. He's going around the long right-hander now to the back straight. Really wide.
Oh, he's lost it again! The third time!
Oh, it's a big accident. And that's the end of his session. A bit of a disastrous one for Ferrari, neither car in the top 10, and if Dan's going to kill me for that, then I do apologise for interrupting me, distracting him. As VSR Josh now on a lap, and I'll let you take over now, Dom.
Well, we just need to do a bit of a jinx for poor Dan. Every time we spectate him, he seems to end up in the wall somewhere, but as we've seen, where Owen has just gone 12th, he's now out of the session. There's only Matt, Josh and Bullet, who I believe, and Aiden too, maybe Mike, can set lap still. So who's going to be first across the line? Looks like it is going to be Josh of the runners. A little bit of a toe there from Smokey. I don't know if that'll gain any time or not. But now with qualifying over, these are the final laps. These are the last laps. Can anyone knock Softy's 129.974 down? That's a good lap. That's a good lap. But Matt is just so close. Look at Josh. I think there's a tenth between the top three as things stand. Mike Noon in 10th. There's that Paul. Aiden's gone 6th. In fact, there's a good result for him. What can Josh do around this final corner? Is he going to knock Softy off pole position? Remember, Softy has got a penalty, a 5-place grid penalty, and he has a 129.910. He goes even quicker. Now, how can Matt and Bullet respond? Bullet is going to be the first one out of these two to cross the line. I think Mike has only gone 10th. I don't know if he's improved in his lap time, but he's going to start 10th position. So a 5th row on his return. Bulletproof dives into the pit lane, so it's down to Matt then. Can Matt take pole position? Off Josh at the front, the final corner, got to get it right. He goes off and he's lost it, and he's in the wall. Is he manages to escape it, but he's going to start 3rd. He'll start 2nd, in fact, with Softy dropping down to what will be 7th, I believe. But Josh is on pole, and that's the 2nd time this season. What a lap, Johners.
Yeah, indeed. A critical time to do it, and brilliant lap to break the 130 barrier. I don't think I've ever seen these cars get under the 90-second mark at this circuit before, so some very, very impressive times at the front there. Interesting to put it back out there. I think he might have made a mistake on his lap or something. He did out of the rush, hairpin just get very slow on the exit, so I think he knew he messed up, maybe at that corner. But it'll be very interesting to see this race with two of the, well, I'd say it's too early, but two of the possible championship contenders up the front, and Softy down in 7th, who's going to have to fight his way ahead of some very fast guys.
It is all set up for a fantastic race. Look at that grid then. Softy will drop to 7th with the penalty. It's going to be a Josh and Matt front row. Bullet and Jake will then occupy the 2nd row. Softy will drop to 7th alongside Aiden and Phil. Smokey 7th, 8th. Paul 9th, Mike 10th. Dan did get 11th in the end despite all those incidents. Only a second off. Look at the times. The top 10, top 11 separate by a second. Owen 12th, Jack 13th, and James down in 14th position. Not a good lap time from him. Martin rounds out the order in 15th, and Ash, of course, joining us for the race as well. Say It Sports' stat of the week. No driver has recorded back-to-back wins in TGP1 for 29 races, and the last time James won in Bahrain, so I think it's fair to say James is not going to win in China from 14th on the grid. So then, China, 14 laps, a 5.5 kilometre lap with 16 turns. The tyres here are the ultra soft, soft and medium. So John, as the front runners, are they going to go from ultra soft to soft or ultra soft to medium? What's going to be the tyre strategy to go for?
It's going to be interesting to see. I wonder on the tyre wear if a ultra soft is the better call, or if it will be an ultra soft onto medium. I remember in the past I've tried to go soft and medium on this, the softer and the medium with the free compounds at this circuit, and it did not pay off, and the tyre wear just ate away as the race got on, and I just suffered towards the end of the race. So maybe the alternate strategy that a couple of people have done is not such a bad call. It'd be interesting to see what the guys outside the top 10 do, but obviously for the race start at least, the softer tyre is the one you want to be on, and that's what the guys at the front are on.
Well then, here we go. The Chinese Grand Prix, the grid is set, the drivers are ready, and it's lights out. Away we go. Softy then down in 7th. He's going to start, and already Dan, the man at the back. Is that James? Hit the wall, and he's hit the wall again. Oh, it's lag. I think it's lag. The Ferrari all over the place there, but into turn 1, it is Josh who does have the lead. Bullett's already up to 2nd position. Matt's into 3rd. Jake's up to 4th. He's got ahead of Aiden. Phil in 6th. Softy's still occupying 7th position at the moment. He needs to get ahead. More contact in the back from the Ferraris. But it is Josh ahead of Bullet ever so slightly. But can Bullet get a move on here? He wants to get ahead of Josh. He knows he's a good driver. Hasn't been in TG1 for 2 years now. I think he crashed out 3 times from the race leading positions last time he was here. So many wins he threw away, but he's going to want to get them back now. Josh, look at this. Ever so slightly holds a 10th advantage over Bullet. Bullet is not going to make it easy for him. We know Bullet. If you know him, you will know that he is a racer. He is going to go for those moves that others might not do. And in the background, I think Jake and Phil have swapped positions. They're very close in the background. You can see the McLaren running wide. And Phil looking to get ahead. All action behind. Jonas, how have you made of this first lap?
It's a very interesting start. I think Softy's getting a couple of positions which will help him, and he's behind Aiden now onto the back straight. As we can see, Josh just right up against the right-hand side of the track there, trying to break the toe, but it is well and truly in there. It's on the dirty side of the track. You see the dust being picked up by the back of it, from the back of the hazard, but it maybe having a look at the inside but going against it, as we've got a fight further back between the Toro Rosso and the McLaren. I think that's Smokey J's and Jake's like contact. Jake has had a nightmare start. He was up in 3rd at the first corner. He caught the inside curve, I spotted at turn 2, as he makes slight contact with Paul now. He goes around the outside of the final corner to take P8. It's been an awful start for McLaren, as he's now right in front of his own teammate, Mike Noon. I can also tell you early on, just at the exit of turn 3, Owen has got in some contact with another car and has broken his front wing. He might be diving into the pit lane, and he does. While meanwhile, but it's still on the back of this. So Josh, he might be shaping up a move here. Let's have a look. Not quite this time. He's decided against it.
Decided against it. It's all very close at the front. We've got Softy now to 5th position. He's already gained 2 places. Phil and Smokey have dropped back. Jake's down in 9th. Actually, he's had a terrible start for him. Owen in the pit lane, so he will now go into what? Medium tyres, Jonas, do you think? Or can softs get him to the end?
It definitely has to be medium tyres. Soft tyres will not last 13 laps here.
Well, medium tyres it will be then, as Josh finally, for the first time in this race, looks to get a little bit of a breathing space. Back to Bullet. Looks like this is still the action to follow at the moment. Matt is now getting closer to Bullet too, as Bullet makes a little slimy mistake there. Look at the 3 of them. This is going to be between these 3, I think, for the win. Aiden in 4th, going for his 3rd consecutive 4th place finish. But Softy behind him is going to want to get through. He knows he can win this race. He has got the pace. Unfortunate in qualifying to be given the 5th place penalty. The stewards felt that it was Bullet who was impeded in qualifying. Softy a little aggrieved by it, but he's going to go for move here on Aiden. Will Aiden make it hard if he does go up the inside? Softy's going to wait, going to make his move maybe into turn 1, get a better chance a little later on. Jonas, any action further back? Looks like Jake's down to 11th now.
Well, Jake spun, he's off, he's down to the back of the field, but one. As Softy's pitted on lap 2, which is very interesting. Paul as well, so maybe the upshifts are really wearing out. It's worth pointing out Jack Pearson up in P7 on the soft tyre, so that's an interesting call by him at the start. I think he was outside the top 10, so might not be a bad decision for him if he can make the tyres last. We've also got James and Martin who were having a good scrap at the end of lap 2. James taking the position and gaining 9th as the 3 there, all on medium tyres, both Ferraris and the Force India, as Softy comes out into clear air down in 13th position and Paul just behind on the medium. Softy, interestingly, is on the softs. I don't think that was the right decision. Maybe he's gambled on safety car. He picked up some damage that we didn't catch, as it looks like Owen just on the back straight on his own might have run a bit wide or sent a grab.
Oh, Martin's off. Martin's
together.
round. He's facing the wrong way. He's lost in front wing. He was racing down the man at the time. Maybe they came together. But Martin is going to have to get back to the pit lane. He started on the mediums as well, so he's going to have to switch to maybe the softs. The softs, he think that might be a bit tight. He's going to have to pit for the softs if he's got front wing damage. But Martin Divan having the race to forget as Owen is also retired, so he's at the back. Not the race that Force India would have wanted here. Both drivers currently looking like they're not going to score points. As Matt on Bullet now, going into this penultimate corner. He's going to go for it. Will Bullet give him the space? Down the inside, wheel to wheel. This is fantastic. It looks like... Where's Bullet? Where's Bullet gone? I can't see. I've seen some dodgy camera angles here. As both of them, both Josh and Bullet, come into the pit lane. Matt's going to stay out, do an extra lap, we think. Can he do the overcut? So here we go then. The 2 of the front 3 coming into the pit lane. Smokey also into the pits. Phil also into the pits. We've got a few coming in then. This is the lap 4 or 5 we're expecting to see them. Can we see Bullet potentially do the jump on the Williams team? It looks like softs are being replaced by softs for Bullet, as his teammates held up behind. I'm not sure if that's the right... Maybe that was a bad animation there.
I can tell you, it was definitely ultra soft to soft for Bullet. It's interesting, so many going on to the soft tyre early on here, as Martin just can't... Well, Bullet comes up just ahead of Martin, who's yet to stop and got damaged, but he has come up between... Well, he's in front of Bullet. He's behind Bullet and ahead of Softy, so Softy's going to have to make that move on track, as Paul and Phil are fighting on just after the pit exit for what is currently 10th position, but will be higher, as Jake comes into the pit from the back of the field, and James and Dan are scrapping away. That might be lag actually, but they're up in 4th and 5th now.
Well, we saw Phil and Paul have a scary moment in Bahrain when Martin came out of the pit lane. Phil had to pull an almighty move, very Mika Hakkinen-esque from Spa 2000 I think it was. That was quite a scary moment, quite a good one though. Phil with already a contender for move of the season. He's currently holding off Paul here, so these two. As we see Softy now looking for a move on Martin. It's down to a 10th. I saw that there. Softy, of course, already pitted for the soft tyres. Could be a bit tight on tyre. He did pit again in lap 2, as you said, John. He's going to look to get past Martin as soon as he can. Cannot afford to get in that dirt. Yeah, lose some time grip as Martin goes wide. They're going to be side by side going down this long straight. He's going to have the more speed. Has Softy managed his errors wisely? Has he got DRS? He has got DRS. I suspect he should go through quite easily, unless Martin comes back at him. That's the position, but Matt, crucially, into the pit lane, Johners. Can he come out in front, do you think?
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. I think the undercut might be very big here with the amount of cars that are coming in on that 3.
Oh, Josh has easily done it. I think Josh has easily done it. And there he goes through.
He's already at turn 1, definitely. Matt getting a bit of wheel spin on the exit and comes out behind Bullet, so status quo has resumed between the top 3 a bit, as Softy now in 4th, just ahead of Martin. Well, what will be a net 4th ahead of Martin. He's currently P8, as the top 4 are yet to pit. Dan just had a little moment on the curb there. James is in 3rd for Ferrari, as Jack on the softs, and Aiden is a very interesting one on the ultra softs. Looks like he's trying to go long in order to change for maybe the soft tyre and go for it towards the end of the race.
Well, it's the top 4 that are yet to pit, and Martin, of course, picking on that damage. I thought it was quite heavy damage, but he stayed out an extra few laps, so it couldn't have been that bad. I think his race is well and truly done. It could be a 14th or 13th he's looking at. The gaps behind aren't too far. Jake down in 14th, having a nightmare race. Of course, he's made a pit stop, but a long way back off his teammate in Mike Noon. So, closest battle on track is the Ferraris of Dan and James, but they're both yet to pit, as are Jack and Aiden. Will we see them coming in this time round? I think all the top 4, in fact, no, Jack's on the soft tyres, as is James and his teammates. Sorry, Dan's on the medium, so Dan will have to do an extra lap as Aiden then into the pit lane. Let's see what his boys can do in the stop. Josh 5th, Bullet 6th, Matt 7th, Softy in 8th, so Softy is crucially in a net 4th position, unless Aiden can get out ahead, as Josh gets the fastest lap at 1:33.5. The pace starting to come down now, as Aiden goes on to, I believe, it says soft tyres on my screen, and he's going to rejoin in what should be 8th position. So he's ahead of Phil, he's ahead of Paul. Martin who, oh, in fact, right on the back of Phil. I don't know if Martin was ahead of Phil before. Phil just got through.
Phil just went round the outside of Martin to tell me that the superior grip and lack of damage on the Williams definitely showing as they got to the end of the straight there. Right, Aiden on the softs, that might be a good decision towards the end of the race if the cars in front do drop off, especially with Softy being the guy in front who's on the... Well, he's the first of the front runners to pit in the race, although he's trying to catch up to Matt Bullitt. Meanwhile, though, Josh is broken away from two behind with what is pretty much a 3-second lead as this virtual safety car is deployed as Jake has retired from the race. Now let's see how long this lasts, because we've got 3 cars yet to pit who are on the back
very
straight.
Good point. I expect James Dan all to pit this lap then. They're going to have to. The VSC, unless it ends anytime soon, these guys are going to gain a good advantage, and Jack's trying to gain every advantage there. He cuts the corner. A nightmare start for Jake then. Will Jack surely dive into pit on this time round? He will have to. He chooses not to. He chooses not to. So, I assume he wants to go then to the Ultra Soft in the second half of the race. But that's interesting. James and Dan, I think VSC has ended, that's probably why.
Yeah, the VSC ended just as they were getting towards the last corner, so they had to stay out, which is a shame for them. They could have really timed that well if it was any later, but it wasn't to be for them. And so they would have to continue on with their original strategies, as we are now on lap 7 of 14.
So half race distance. We talked about Phil and Paul before. Phil and Paul and James have had 2 podiums at China in the last 3 seasons, so they normally do quite well here. Phil's had 4 podiums, I think, in total during his TGB1 reign at China. But Phil down in 9th at the moment, a long way back off the front guys. I can't see him getting a podium this time round. So it's Matt on Aiden, appears to be the best battle on track. Bulletproof just ahead of the Williams driver. The gap is less than a second. DRS will be active this time round, and Josh is not far enough ahead, close enough to Bullet. The Bullet to gain from the DRS advantage. So Jack, James and Dan remain in the front 3, but it's really Josh, Bullet, Matt and Softy, your top 4. Aiden 5th and Phil 6th. Martin waiting for him to pit as well, which means Paul will be up to 7th, and he's about to make a move on Martin, I think. Very close, the 2 of them now. Paul needs to get through soon. He can't afford to lose too much time. Martin is holding him up here. The tyre wear difference must be huge, and Paul's struggling to find a way through. It should be, though, a case of a sitting duck coming down this straight now. In fact, Matt's just lost a second to Bullet, so maybe an issue for him, or a little problem, a little mistake, a little moment. As we see now, Paul should be quite straightforward. Chooses to go to the left side. And I believe as Dan and James pitted, there's a position change for 2nd and 3rd. But unless Martin comes back at Paul.
No. Both stayed out.
A position gain for Paul then. James and Dan still 2nd and 3rd. A little timing glitch, I think. The front 3 choosing to wait for their moment. When are they going to come in? Lap 8 or 9, Jonas, do you think?
I'd have to say it's within the next couple of laps. I can imagine that they're just trying to hold it out so the Ultra Softs will last to the end, because we saw early on in the race everyone that started at the front was in within the first 4 laps, so the Ultra Softs do not have a long life at all. It wouldn't surprise me if one of them did come, one of the Ferraris came in this lap, maybe just put on the soft tyres. It'll be interesting to see if the soft tyres even get to the end for most of the front runners because of how early they stopped. I'd imagine the tyres would be dropping off a cliff towards the end a little bit, such as the tyre wear at the circuit, but so far it doesn't seem to be doing too much for some of the front runners, although that said, Bullet has been closing in on Josh the last couple of laps. It's gone from 3 seconds to just under 2, so we might have a little bit of action towards the front if that pace is kept up, although Josh could just be saving the ERS, saving the tyres a little bit. Both on equal lap, they both pitted on the same lap. What would be the net 2 leaders. Matt pitted a lap later and seems to be pushing hard to try and keep up, as Mike gets a time penalty for multiple warnings. It's worth pointing out he also spun a couple laps ago. He's at the back of the field. He's had a horror race in the McLaren, his first race of the season, having missed week 1, as the 3 leaders stay out again. And VSR Josh is catching quick to them now. The gap between him and Dan in 3rd is just over 2 seconds now.
Well, we've got Aiden on Phil going into turn 1. Phil's just got through at the final corner. Aiden's going to walk on back. He's going to go to the outside line. But Phil, with the inside, will manage to stay in front, and Aiden has to wait. So Aiden looked like he was going to maybe get on Softy ahead, but it is Phil who's got through and got the position ahead. He wants that podium here at China. He does well here. I said before, But Johners, season 20 TGP1, do you remember what's so special about that race? Please tell me you don't.
I will have to say that I do not indeed.
Yes, Johners. Right, what happened was Dino Courtney was leading the whole race, had it in the bag, and then in the final corner, and this is before, if you disconnected, your car carried on as an AI. If you disconnected, you were out. And Dino Courtney, final corner, last lap, disconnected from the race. CJ inherited the win. Were you there that day? Still my favourite Chinese moment.
I think that actually got me a podium that race, if I remember correctly. I think I was 4th on the last lap, maybe like 3rd or 5th or 4th anyway, but it's a pain when that happens. It is something that's happened to me in TGP cars before and cost me a title, so I know the pain of that happening on the last corner, on the last lap.
So many moments we can look back on in this 30 season history of TGP1. Surely the top 3 are going to choose this lap to pit. Will any of them come in? It's lap 9 of 14 for God's sake.
James is pitted. James is pitted from 2nd.
So James, the first Ferrari, comes in, and the 2 Ferraris are both out there, so one of them's going to have to pit this lap. As the Ferrari mechanics prepare, I mean, looks like soft tyres, is it? Surely not. Surely you'd want to go into a clean set of ultra softs for the final closing laps. Especially as James got the strategy so right last time out in Bahrain, but I think it is the soft tyres for him. And now Josh coming up to the back of the Dan the Man. Dan the Man, who I believe might be listening to the commentary, because he did say that John or me put him off when he was on his lap. I think Dan's just a terrible driver. He is a 4-time world champion, but in recent times has proved it's a little trickier in the PS4 era, yet to pick up a decent result since his PS4 return. So that was on the track. What are we watching here? I think we've got Josh on Dan. Matt's closing on Bullet again. And apart from that, I think the next battle is Smoky James and James. Smoky James, in fact, has overtaken James. James is down to... Oh, I think it is lag. Because James keeps flicking positions.
I'm just wondering, I've just had a look before, is there a risk of rain for this race? I'm wondering if that's why Jack and Dan have stayed out as long as they have. Maybe James... I've just noticed it has got a bit darker up the circuit. So maybe there is a threat of rain in the air. Maybe that's what the front 3 were gambling on, and James was the first to decide against that and pit the tyres. As Josh goes around the outside of Dan, or tries to, it's close, but he's got the move done at the hairpin. Will Dan be rushing in to pit this lap? No, he doesn't, but Jack does. So VSR Josh will retake the lead which he had before it stops. Dan up to, well, Dan stays in 2nd, but it's up to 3rd, Matt to 4th, as Jack will surely be coming in for the ultra softs, I'd imagine. And there we go, the big tyre, purple tyre indeed is on.
So he has gone to ultra softs. Dan the Man should do the same this time round, and he'll only get, I think, what? If he pits in this lap, he'll have 3 laps at the end, so maybe this tyres can only do 3 or 4 laps. I mean, you did point this out in qualifying as Jack crosses the white line and gets very close to the Sauber roof. I think, is that Paul? The Ferraris, well, if James are the 3 of them, all close together. James in a fight, probably didn't expect to be in, but he is back in this race despite what looked like a sluggish start for him. But here we go then. James O'Connor will look to get ahead of Paul. Former teammates last time out in season 29. This time Paul's gone to Sauber, and James getting very close to Paul here. This 3 on track appear to be the battle to watch as things stand, and James all over the place. I'm going to go off this for a moment because it seems to be a little laggy, so I'll go to the car ahead of Paul. Looked like the Ferrari was spinning off in the background, but there you go. The Ferrari's everywhere. There are Ferraris going off everywhere here. Do not adjust your sets. This is James's lag. But yeah.
Off the 3, Paul was at a major disadvantage. The other 2 haven't just stopped, and Paul being on 8 lap pole tyres already. As Dan the Man goes down to 3rd, having been passed by Bullet just at the end of the straight. I do believe Dan will be in at the end of this lap.
Dan the Man really struggling for tyre wear. These laps have done 11 full laps, maybe even a qualifying run. I'm not sure if he qualified in the top 10. I don't think he did actually. So 11 laps he's done on them. He'll come into the pits now and do a 3-lap dash on the ultra softs. And where will he come out? He'll come out probably around 10th or 11th. As Softy then into 4th position now. Matt is chasing down Bullet. The top 3 are separated by just 2 seconds, but Josh looks to have it in the bag, looking for his 2nd race win of the season. And as I said, the winner of China in the last 3 seasons has gone on to win the championship. We've got battles going on further down here, and a yellow flag in sector 3 as well. Don't know what that's for.
Yeah, we got Martin off just on the start of the long straight, so I think he might have just got it wrong and spun round there. Got Mike going very slowly as well down there. I'm just wondering if there is a chance of rain, or if it might have started, because those two look very, very slow in that last sector, and they're both only just come out the pits as well, Martin and Mike. So Dan just ahead of, well, Dan a minute up the road in 11th, so also just pitted, and that's what's put me out on the timing screens. Meanwhile, the top three are closing into each other, but it has got that lead down to just over a second, with Matt being towed along as well in third. He would have DRS on the back straight here, so it'll be interesting to see if he can close up as we come towards the last couple of laps now. We've got Softy down in fourth, not really able to keep up. He's 7 seconds off the lead, and then we've got Phil on his own. Well, to the fifth maybe just behind, and we've got Jack in 7th, James in 8th, who's got past Paul now. Smokey J's in 10th, doing decently on his first race back, ahead of Dan, who's catching up on the fresh tyres, and then Martin, who's going for a bit of a spin in sector 2, and he's in the wall. That's the end of Martin's race. A very slow speed crash that has broken his front suspension, so that's him out, as Mike is now just going to take that 12th place.
Well, not the race then.
Let's have a look at Matt. Let's have a look at Matt, 'cause he's closed right up there towards the back of it.
Here we go, the top three. It's down to 1.8 seconds. There's a lap and a half to go. As elsewhere, I think James has made a move on Paul for position 8. As you can see, James only done 3 laps on the soft tyres compared to Paul's 10 on the mediums. So I'm not sure that was a difficult position for James to gain. Softy is going to finish 4th, which is a good recovery from where he started in qualifying following that 5th-place grid drop. But Matt will want to get second off Bullet. He will want to get clear. It's going to be a tricky pass, and it's going to be a last lap lunge, I think. If you can get close enough, get DRS, use the ERS wisely, maybe make a move on the final lap. But this is the battle to watch. I think Jack also closing on Aiden. As I say that, Aiden pulls 4/10 clear of him. But Jack, of course, on the soft tyres should close in. I think down the mountain, Smoky Chase as well. It's about to make a move, but we're going to focus on this for now. I thought it'd be a last lap pass, but Matt looking to do it the lap before. As Bullet cuts to the left, he doesn't want him to go through there. But Matt, for now, remains behind. He's going to get DRS yet again. Let's look at that ERS. You can see it on the steering wheel there. A little bit left to deploy. As Matt almost loses the back end where he lost it in qualifying. But this is helping Josh now, 2 seconds clear of this pair. As Matt looks to go around the outside. Phil couldn't do it before on Aiden. And Matt cannot do it on Bullet either. Still a full lap to go. Smoky Jason Dan, what's that looking?
Yeah, Dan was having a look around the outside of the hairpin, a little bit of wheel banging, and Smoky J's held position. But Dan is having a run down towards turn 1. He's not got any ERS left by the looks of it, but he's going to have a look down the inside anyway. And Smoky J's just shuts the door and holds the spot, although that superior grip on the Ferrari right now. He's going to have a look, more contact, side pod bash and stuff here between the two as Dan gets the cutback and now takes 10th place. Oh. He's going to be looking to get Paul on the last lap as he's struggling, as Mike spins off again at the beginning of the back straight.
Having a race to forget. It's not been his even, but Matt on Bullet, this is going to be an exciting final few corners. Yellow flag's out again in sector 3. Mike Noon might want to get lapped. He doesn't have to do one more lap of this circuit. But Jake is going to win now. Sorry, not Jake. Josh is going to win. He's now pulled 3 seconds, so a full second he's gained whilst these two are battling. 3.3 seconds clear. This is Matt's going to be his final chance. Bullet already moves to the right. He'll have the DRS, Matt. He'll have to speed too. Has he got all ERS? He's saved his ERS. He's done it wisely. He'll move to the left. Bullet defends that right side but cuts across. And there is Mike ahead. I told you he won't want to do that final lap. He's not going to complete it. Josh is going to win this race. Bullet should get second. Ahead of Matt, and Josh crosses the line to win for the 2nd time this season. In the background, it is going to be Bullet ahead. And look at that. It's a McLaren. Oh, that is Mike. I was thinking Softy actually closed up on the car ahead. Elsewhere then, Aiden. Is he going to get Phil for 5th? No, Phil will get 6th. James on Jack. He's called in it too, but he's going to get 8th. So positions on the final lap. Smoky on Dan. He's not going to get it. He's going to go on the wall, is he? He pushes it out of it. He spun round. Mike New will not get an addition off him, and he's going to reverse across the line, I think. Well, he tried to. I think he's damaged the rear wing a bit there too. I'm not sure the Taurus team will be happy with that, but Josh wins it. What do you make of that result there, James? Sorry, I'm calling you James now. My names are horrendous today. Johnners.
I'd have to say that was a very well managed race by Josh. Never let a gap, never really let Bullet get within the DRS, and when Bullet started to close in, he just started to pull away again. Matt being on the back of it definitely helped. Definitely meant that Josh could push without any worries from having to defend from Bullet, who was defending himself. So it was a very well controlled and very well won race there, as I believe that will now give Josh the championship lead for him in the Haas, with Bullet a brilliant return to GP1 with a second place. Well, I think part of him probably be disappointed not to have won the race, because that's just the kind of driver Bullet is, always wanting those race wins. So a quick rundown of the order then. VSR Josh takes his second win of the season, 3 seconds clear of Bullet on his TGP1 return. Just behind him is Matt the Williams in third, and then Softy recovering from that 5-place grid penalty in P4, and then Phil in fifth and Aiden in sixth, close together, followed by Jack and James in 7th and 8th, who on the alternate strategy made good progress up the field. Then you had Paul, who finished where he started in 9th, Dan the Man finishing 10th ahead of Smokey Jays, who might be a little bit disappointed finishing 11th. Then you have Mike, who ended up a lap down but did claim that fastest lap, and then your retirees Martin, Jake, and I think the third one there was Owen, who retired on the opening lap of the race.
Well, there you go, third race of the season. We now, attentions turn to Azerbaijan. Circa, we've had 6 different winners from the 6 races we've had here. And again, Josh is looking like to make that 7 out of 7 if he can keep this form going. A fantastic pace there to show off Bullet, Matt and Softy. Frightening pace to get his second win of the season. And as you said, take the championship lead away from James, who had a race to forget, down in 8th position. He did qualify towards the end, but he has pulled it back to get 8th there. So, Pole has only gone on to win twice here in 7 races, so qualifying will not be the crucial point here.
Honestly, I think way back it was easiness of getting yourself called out and just damaging the car or ending your race in a silly way. It's very interesting to note that it took till race 3 for someone to be on the podium twice this season, with Josh and Matt both getting their second podium finish of the season, and both of them finishing in China in the exact place they finished in Australia as well. But it was the 7th driver out of a possible 9 so far to have been on the podium, and it'll be interesting to see if anyone else can do it this race as well.
Well, as you said, lots to look out for going into this race. Ash Dawson is joining us, so Jonas, if you could do the honours and send him that crucial invite ahead of Azerbaijan. Just taking a few moments to check the championship standings, and it is Josh who takes the lead then. Ahead of James, Bulletproof with his first points of the season will move up a few positions. Matt takes 3rd. He's had to leave us now, unfortunately, with other commitments. Softy in 4th, 12 points. Not the result he wanted, but 12 points that could come in handy towards the end of the season. Aiden in 6th. Couldn't carry on his run of 4th place finishes. Jack.
I think it would be safe to assume it'd be the same 2 or 3 guys at the front there. Although I think Aiden will be looking to bounce back from what I think was a disappointing Chinese Grand Prix for him.
Not the result he wanted. Drivers now preparing for Azerbaijan, the second race of the night, the 4th race of the season. And as I said, we've got some few pointers here from our friends at Sayers Sports, who have pointed out that Softy and Jake are the only drivers on the grid with wins here. So the grid looking for their first wins at Baku. Softy and Jake, the only ones that can say they've managed to do it here. The tyre strategies is the ultra soft, super soft, and soft. 20 turns, so one of the longer circuits. And yes, sorry, I'm just looking at some connection issues here. I'm not sure the stream is still running or not. Might not be. I'm just talking in case it isn't, but just checking on that for a moment as we head into qualifying for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
No, we're good. It's stood up.
Perfect. I keep getting messages telling me that my internet is not good enough, and it's right. It really isn't. But somehow we're still on YouTube. That is good to hear. Okay then, on to Azerbaijan. Who's going to be the first runners out onto track? 80-minute qualifying now. Of course, they've added 6 minutes from previous seasons, Codemasters. So it gives the drivers 3 laps as opposed to 2 to try and set their fastest times. And although Baku's not a track great on tyre wear, sorry, it's pretty good for tyre wear. Normally you see lap times topping as the session goes on, and although tyre wear is good, I still expect drivers maybe to do just the one lap for each run, because of course the urge, you've got to manage it, and with the straights that they have here, the drivers are going to be using that so much, especially the back straight. But crucially, do you think we'll see teammates giving drivers toes, Jonas? Will we see that come into play here?
I would tell you, I think that's a possibility. We've already seen it once this season with the Salvers back in Bahrain, with Paul and Aiden giving each other slipstreams down the back straight during their qualifying runs. And I think here, with the way ERS is, it's very, very high ERS usage per lap here. It's almost impossible to do 2 laps in a row on full ERS settings, as the first few cars come out on track now. I believe the first car out, well, it was Softcock, but Smoky J's has overtaken him on the outlap, so we'll be seeing that Toro Rosso in the first time, unless anything disastrous happens for him. It's hopefully not. Let's touch wood on that one. But I think we will see 1 or 2 teams do the slipstream. I think Sauber most likely, as they've already done it once this season, and after their disappointing Challenge Grand Prix, they'll be looking to do anything they can to get back up that field a little bit. It won't surprise me if someone gets it a bit wrong and hits it in the wall up the castle section or anywhere else on track. Very easy to get it wrong. I've done a few test races here in the last few days where we've had cars hit the wall, and I can tell you already, Dan the man has gone straight on out of the pit lane.
Gotta say, Dan is great entertainment for qualifying. If you want to watch a guy go off, just follow Dan. I'm just going to follow Dan for the rest of the season. We're going to see crashes, we're going to see spins. Dan the man, for the 4th time of watching him this season, found himself going down the escape road, and I'm going to stick with him for now because I'm expecting another incident. Dan the man used to get titles, now he just spins himself. Dan the man having a nightmare time in the PS4 era, looking to refine that pace he once had, and look at this. Oh, it's embarrassing. Dan the man is all over the place in that fry. And Reba Ben is going like, why am I employing you? What are you doing here? James O'Connor and Dan, with 10 tails between them, not doing so far so well here in Baku. Jonas, what are you going to say?
I tell you, it was just a very, very near miss for Martin up the car, so I almost went straight into the wall, but he managed to just save himself. There's a lot of cars going very slowly. Both all seem to be cruising around. We've got the Salvers going slowly. We've got, I believe it's Softcock just about stuck behind another car as well. Sorry, not Softcock, but it's Jack Pearson. It's the wrong Renault there. Both got a red and white helmet, and I've got the wrong one there. But we've got, I tell you, Aiden is almost at standstill in the... I think that's the first sector.
I think it is.
I think, considering Paul has just started his lap, there's a possibility of a toe towards the end of the lap here.
We did mention it. We did think it could be a potential thing here. And Dan the man, is that him coming into the pit lane? It is. Dan the man will not be setting a lap, saving the Frieden team from the embarrassment. He comes into the pit lane at a steady 80 kilometers an hour. So Paul, you said, is on a lap. Let's see if he does get a toe from his teammate.
I can also tell you so far, Josh is 4/10 clear of Soft in Sector 1 alone. I don't know if Soft has made a mistake or if Josh has just aced it through there. But coming towards the end of Sector 2 on the first runs now, we've got Smoky J set at 1, well, it was about a 1:15 from Sector 2. Obviously there's a glitch with the timing screen, so it shows a Sector 1 time at Sector 2 point, because classic Cody's. I think it was a 13.5 there for Sector 2 for VSR Josh. We'll have a look at Softy, who has done a 1:14 I think, and we've got Mike Noon off in the wall up turn 1. He's got damage to the front wing, he has got it going again, as Smoky J's will set the first lap of a 1:39.0. VSR Josh sure to beat that.
Yeah, he's going to smash that one. 1:39.0 to beat, and Josh crosses the line, so it's a 1:37.2. The full 2 seconds quicker.
Yeah, worth pointing out Smoky J's is on the soft tyres, he gets used to it. Softy 6 stamps off in P2 there.
I think the four seniors are giving each other a toe. They're very close on this back straight. Did they hold each other up? It's Owen ahead of Martin. Is Owen giving Martin a toe here?
I can tell, very weirdly, I thought Aiden was going to give Paul a toe, but if anything, I think Paul's got that wrong and just flown straight past him. Meanwhile, Softy's P2, Phil's gone to P3, marginally off, and it's Martin in 4th, over a second down there, Smoky J's and Owen. We've got the car in the wall. Jack Pearson is out of the session, he's in the wall. That's in Sector 1, I believe.
The Force Indias. We thought maybe they're giving each other a toe. Maybe they're getting annoyed at each other. The two of them were both on laps. Both of them were on laps. So both getting each other's way on that back straight. Maybe Martin gained time from it. In fact, he did. He gained a full 1.5 seconds. So maybe he caught Owen at the worst possible moment. Or maybe he didn't back off enough. Is that bad planning from the Force India team potentially? Let's see who else is on a lap now. We should have James O'Connor setting his first lap. He backs off at the very end. So he's decided to abort that. Didn't come in the pit lane though. And he goes again. So not sure what's going on there for Ferrari.
I think James just doing his usual strategy, just giving the softer tyres a little run, see how they work on the circuit, and then set his time on the slower tyre for the ultimate strategy. I can tell you Aiden's currently on the... Well, I thought Aiden was on the right position, backed off. Mike's on his way back into the pits. Dan is back on track, but I think everyone else is on their way in. So, a bit of a subdued first run there, I think. Only about half the field have done laps, of which I'd say only 6 are actually representative. As we got the end of the first round, Dan managed to like well, with a lap there. It looked like the Renault's Mike's on business, almost got the way Dan as he starts his lap now. So why don't you take us on a lap of the circuit here, Dom?
Well, Baku, one of my favourite circuits on the calendar. Big fan when it was introduced to Formula 1 back in 2016. We've seen great races there, we've seen better races here in TGP, and Dan the Man, we're going to follow Dan the Man, a man who's known for making various incidents in qualifying this season. Let's see if he can have a clean lap and get himself back where he should be, back in the top half of the table, back at the front few rows. Josh then, 6/10 clear as Softy already. A fantastic first run, but to be fair, if I was racing here today, I would be setting a steady lap in, just show you lap times. You don't want to make a mistake. If you crash here going too fast, suddenly qualifying's over. If you've got that banker in, you're not so in a bad position there, as Martin is in 4th position. As you said, it's only really 6 laps we can look at seriously here. James Unknown did get impeded or backed off as Dan the Man through the castle section, the most difficult part of the track, but Dan gets it spot on, but loses the back end straight after it, so maybe not so much. We think Mike and Aiden also now on outlaps pool 2. The Saab is yet to set a lap time. 10 minutes of the session to go, and Dan the Man will look to keep this a tidy sector 3. Kimi Räikkönen, of course, making a mistake here at the crucially the final corner in real Formula 1 to lose pole position. Let's see if Dan the Man can have a better time in this Ferrari. This is the trickiest corner. You do not want to be going through here flat speed if you've got front wing damage. You will be in that wall. But Dan the Man, oh, almost loses it with a front wing. Dan the Man, once again, I don't know what assist he's got turned off. Maybe he's got too many turned off for his liking. Dan the Man, currently 10th position, yet to set a lap time. Will he go ahead of his teammate James? He crosses the line, and does he go 6th? A 1:39.2, but 2 seconds off the pace of Josh.
Yeah, it's worth pointing the Ferrari on the super soft tyres there. Smokey J's is out of the session. I think that might be a crash in the castle section, as the green lights are now flashing there. As Demon Ash. Demon Ash is out of field, I can tell you. And yeah, Smokey J's in the wall. That is a weird place to crash. Just broke the left suspension at a right-hander. That's an odd one. It's worth pointing out, Demon Ash, I don't know what he was doing with his second lap. He did a 2:16. He's now, I believe, out of fuel. And I think he's just held up for his start. Josh was actually on an outlap as Dan is off again. And
how's he ended up down there?
3 points. Dear me.
Oh dear. I hope Joe's making a montage of Dan's spins in qualifying, because I will watch that one. Dan the Man, once again, he's doing an 8 point, 9 point, 10 point turn. Oh, 11,
10.
12. As he got it this time, he has that Ferrari safely out of there. A 12 point turn. And once again, Arriva Bene looking at the contract. How do I sack this guy? How do I get rid of him? He's not performing. Dan the Man, he is 6th though, which would be his best result of the season if he continues there come the race. But wow, a nightmare start to the season for the Ferrari drivers. I keep saying Ferrari drivers, let's not forget James was championship leader after the first week, so no disrespect to James there, but not being his day so far.
Meanwhile, now we've got the Salvers on the lap. We've got Paul just come towards the end of his. Aiden in the middle sector. I think he's got a car in front, so he might be getting a cheeky tail off that one. As Paul comes down towards the finish now on the back, on the main straight. DRS about to be deployed. We've got yellows in 62 again.
I was doing a few practice runs here. There's Aiden. Sorry, Paul goes 4th. A good lap time from him there. Now what can Aiden do? Can he respond to his teammates? No toes. We're not seeing what we thought we'd see earlier on. At the moment, Aiden well away from his teammate. Both going out at the same time. 8 minutes still to go though. Still all to play for. Can he respond to Paul's 138.1? Can he put his Sauber ahead of Paul and once again out-qualify his teammate? He sticks it 5th, just behind, a 10th off him. So very closely matched, the two Scots. The slower tyres? Oh, I didn't realise. It's the super softs.
That's very interesting. Worth pointing out, he used lots of DRS in his lap as well. He very would ran out as he crossed the line. He had about 5 or 6% left, I'd say, going by his steering wheel. As Martin, I believe, is just starting a lap, or just finishing. He just finished and gone P6 on a 138.4.
Josh finishing his lap. It's his second run. Can he improve on the 137.2? Is he going to knock that down a little more? A 136.8. It's a second clear as Softy. What a lap. And the drivers behind are going to have to respond to that.
That is a huge statement. I know these cars are quicker, but the 136 is massive at a track like that.
Softy goes quicker.
That's instantly beat. Wow.
We were just saying how good it was. It's not going to be beaten. Softy goes 2/10 quicker. Have that, Josh, Softy says.
The track must definitely be getting grippier then. We've got Phil just about to finish a lap in 3rd. Let's see what he does. He doesn't improve. He's a 10th off. He stays in P3. Meanwhile, we've got Paul, Aiden on laps. Martin, I think, just finished. It's just on the lap. We just finished it. I think he did just finish it. Actually, went 6th. So we've got James on an out lap. We've got Mike on track as well. I don't know if he's in the middle of the lap. I'd say going by his. Well, let's see. Let's just see him across the line.
Who are you watching? Sorry, Jonas.
We're on board with Mike in P13. He's just started a lap now, so this is going to be his first time lap in session. Be interested to see what he does. We've got quite a few cars just on in laps at the moment. We've got yellow flag at 63. Nothing worrying there. It's just Paul, Aiden on his way into the pit lane. I'm starting to get my drivers quite run today as well, it seems. As Mike in the middle of 6-1 now, just the end of turn 3.
Mike Noon looking to improve on that P13. Of course, former TGP2 champion, won a couple of seasons ago against Jack Pearson, the man who's finished 4th. Is that Mike Noon going off? It is Mike Noon going off. Did you see what happened there? Our camera angle was unfortunately a little far ahead of where it should have been.
I'm afraid I did miss it. The camera not really helping out. It looked like he might have just got it a bit wrong at the back end, stepping out on him. He's doing well to avoid hitting the wall there, it have to be said. I saw James. He was about to start a lap and he had to back out of it. I think there was another car that caught him by surprise and he decided to just back it off. Meanwhile, we've got Martin on an in-lap, Phil on an in-lap.
I think Mike's the man to watch.
So we have to stay on board with Mike.
This final sector, the tricky final sector. Mike Noon, is he going to abandon this lap? Made a mistake earlier on in the lap, but looks like he is going to set this first time down yet to set a time. Of course, qualifying in the top 10 doesn't give you a clean set of tyres, but a track like Baku, I'm not sure that's really an issue that needs to be worried about. Softy on his way back to the pits for his final run, which will come up in a few moments' time. What does Mike do? Is he going to pit? He is coming in.
Yeah. No, he didn't open the DRS. Oh, he's hit the wall.
And I think Softy's also coming in. So out there on track at the moment, we've got Martin in 6th, Demon Ash in 9th, is he on a lap? And then James in 11th.
I think I might have to say an apologies to Ash because it just popped up that he did a T15, so obviously the 216 earlier must have been an out lap, so apologies to him. I thought he was just doing an old strategy, but clearly not the case, as he's now on a flying lap. I think he's the only one on the circuit at the moment to be on a lap. We've got Paul on an out lap, Martin on an in lap, I believe, who's actually out of fuel. So I think we have to keep him board with Sol Mercedes in the field as he starts his second round of the session.
It is Softy and Josh in a league of their own at the moment. The two of them a full second clear of still in 3rd. It's pretty tight between Paul and Aiden, the two Saubers for 4th and 5th. Ash Dawson coming in 9th, looking to get a better qualifying.
He was millimetres away from hitting that wall at the castle section. Either very, very skillful, very, very lucky to get away with that. But onwards with the lap we go as he comes down towards the end of sector 2 down the hill before we get to this surprisingly tricky left-hander. I would say it's caught many people out in the past. It looks like you can hit the power early, but then you just drift out wide. He set a decent sector 1, which is good enough to possibly jump him up a couple of positions and keep secure all the way to the line. You see now he's on full power, full DRS, full everything, down the straight. To the DRS point, DRS open, and straight run to the line. His best at the moment is 139.3, and he now does a 139.2, so Doesn't gain a position, but he's got a lot closer to the car in front.
So it's
As I
Softy.
believe now, the front runners are all making their way back on track.
Paul approaching, I believe, the final sector. Aiden
Just
the
came out of
first
the pits
sector.
in turn 2.
So is Paul going to be the first of these front drivers to set that lap? John is trying to take us on a lap of the Baku circuit on board with Paul McGee.
Here we are then with Paul. He's at 330 kilometers an hour as his yellow flags in sector 1. That's just going to be the cars coming out of the pits. DRS wide open. Crosses the line, start the lap now. It's a very, very short run to turn 1 on the brakes. Take that apex. Don't want to hit the curb too much on the outside as we go down this tiny little straight towards turn 2 and the beginning of the second DRS zone on the exit. Want to get the car straightened up. Don't run on too much of the curb. We'll just unsettle the car and slow you up as we go with the DRS over 200 miles an hour now down towards turn 3. Another 90-degree left-hander, and then down to turn 4. Another tight corner, typical of Herman Tilke tracks, really, isn't it? And we now come to the sector 1 line. He's done a 34.7 from sector 1, which is only a few tenths of what Josh did earlier on. I don't know what the sector times are now for him as we come towards the castle section. Yellow flags in sector 2, possibly Aiden knowing it with the Salvatore. As Paul comes to the castle now, very easy to get it wrong here and crash. We've seen it enough times in the past, but Paul does it well, keeps the car nice and steady through there. Not using too much curb, not spinning the rears up. Nice and tidy. Doesn't always look the quickest, but normally does show in the lap that it is the best way to do things. As he now comes towards the tricky left-hander here, easy to get that wall on the outside, down the hill to the sector 2 line, which is looking like a decent lap so far for him. It might just improve on it on his current P4. Maybe he might sneak third off Phil to go for the left and then the right onto the main straight. We do have a car in front. It's down the man. Oh, goodness gracious me! That was a very lucky near miss, and Paul's going to have to back it out. That's his lap ruined. Looks like Dan has truly he's well and truly put it in the wall there. Get it slightly wrong. Just click that inside wall, it throws you to the other wall, and that's the end of your session. And Paul, very, very unfortunate there to come across a stationary Ferrari with the front wheel missing, as Bullet, who, unslightly by us, has just gone 3rd position and got straight on into the wall. He's done a 1:37.1, so he's within 3 tenths of Carl, and that was his only run of the session, I believe. I don't think he actually did a time beforehand. Phil has not improved to stay 4th. He's done his lap. Paul is in the pit. Aiden halfway through his lap with VSR Josh just behind. But he only just jumped up to 12th. No? It might have been Mike going up the field, actually, I believe. It was Mike going up
Mike went 8.
So
he's improved to 8. It's the second salvo then of Aiden's turn to see if he can now improve on his final run. Qualifying coming to an end. We've got to watch out for Josh. 2 tenths off of Softy.
Into Dan's runoff area. And
I think,
Aiden now.
more traffic again ahead. That's Owen, but shouldn't have held up Aiden too much. I think Dan and Man was getting a little jealous when we were doing a lap of Paul McGee. So Dan crashed at the final corner and waited for Paul McGee to come round so we could get a bit more TV time. Just thrown out there. Aiden then in 6th. Can he improve? Can he move that salvo? He does, into 5th position. Beats his teammate by 4 tenths, and now attention turns to Josh, who will look for every bit of slipstream. Is this going to be good enough, Jonas?
Yes, only by a tenth, but it's enough. It's another pole position for BSR Josh. I believe that's his 3rd of the season, and he's really, really sending a message across to Softy and the others up the front there that he is the man to beat this season. The preseason favourite is duly delivering, as everyone thought he might do. As we've got Martin and Mike on laps. I think Mike just getting a little bit spirited out of this, what is the last real corner of the circuit. As Martin now towards the finish line, currently P7, looking to get improvement. Can he get onto the 3rd row? He's going to come to the right now, and he marginally improves, but is still a few tenths off the Salvers that take row 3. As Mike stays in P8, and I think we've just got James coming to the pit in 13th. And that is that for qualifying. BSR Josh with his 3rd pole of the season.
Oh, what a lap from Josh. What a marker to set down to his rivals. Softy and Josh will be a fun one to watch this race. But Jonas, I'm going to depart for 1 moment, so I'll leave you to run down the order from qualifying.
Well then, with qualifying over for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, we will very shortly have the leaderboard up, and here we are then. VSR Josh on par with 136.593, less than a tenth behind his soft cop, who will be looking to get his season back on track. Now you are half a second clear of Bulletproof in third, another strong showing on his first week back, and then you've got Phil in fourth in the Williams, the sole Williams for this race, ahead of the two Saubers in the form of Aiden and Paul. You got Martin in seventh for the Force India, then you got Mike in eighth, Demon Ash in ninth, Smokey Chase rounding off the top 10 for Toro Rosso, and you got Dan the Man in 11th, 12th for Owen, and 13th James, ahead of Jack, who failed to set a time. A very, very interesting qualifying there, but the race always throws up some mayhem. It's just the nature of this circuit. As we now prepare for the race, the cars will be on the grid any moment, and it'll be interesting to see what happens on the opening lap. We've seen it in Formula 1 in recent years. It's always a bit of carnage on lap 1, like the Force Indias 1 year coming together, Bottas and Raikkonen as well 1 year coming together, and cause mayhem for the field behind. And even as early as this year, Alonso on pretty much two wheels, limping his car back to the pit lane, but yet getting a points finish for the McLaren. As we just wait for the last few guys to ready up.
Will we see Josh make it 7 winners from 7 races at the Baku circuit, or will Softy make it his first of the season? Well then, for the second time tonight, the drivers are on the grid. They are ready for this race. Can Softy get ahead of Josh into turn 1? It's going to be a crucial start. The lights are out, and away we go. So let's have a look then. Josh looks like he's got a solid start from the lead. In fact, he's going to stay in the lead. Softy second. Bullet will to get third, and there's contact further behind.
Yep.
Looks pretty bad for the Ferraris. But Softy, who is still behind VSR Josh, it's 4/10. 3 bars behind, looks like Phil going for a move on Bulletproof here. Bulletproof defends the inside. There's Aiden also, I think, just on the right of these two here. Look how compact it is. The McLaren in the background of Mike having to keep out of it as the two Saubers look to go side by side here. Who's going to come out on top? It is going to be, I think, Aiden.
With James and Smokey J's at the back of the field. I can tell you, Smokey J's was it's sandwiched between, I believe, the Force India of Owen, and I think it was the Mercedes Demon Ash as well, into turn 1, and then Smokey, having backed off, rolled off the throttle and just missed his braking and went flying into the back of the Mercedes.
Softy's out of the race!
Oh my word!
Softy's binned it, unseen by the cameras, and that's a huge blow to his title hopes. And Josh now has been given a massive reward. He now hits 2 seconds clear. Will we see a safety car from that? I'm not sure what happened to Softy, but already out of this race, it's been a disastrous night for him. Only 4th position after a qualifying penalty, and Dunderman's out too.
Well.
2 DNFs on the opening lap. Surely a safety car will have to be deployed. There's contact. And look at this, we've got Smokey taking it cautious around this first lap. He'll be over for a safety car, he's quite far back. Same for James. A few battles still going on. Mr. 2 Force India's 8th and 9th with Jack just ahead of the pair of them. DRS, it's too early for that, but Urs will be a factor. And Martin and Owen getting so close already on the back straight, as Josh has the fastest lap on the first lap, of course. Jack Pearson's going to be mugged by potentially 2 Renaults, 2 Force Indias, 1 either side, and it is going to be, is it Martin who gets ahead? It's Owen who gets ahead. Both get ahead of the Renault crucially though. Can Jack come back at them? The 3 of them still so close, and now Jack Lusk's got the inside, but he can't do it. He's back ahead of Owen, but still behind Martin. So many battles out there. Aiden then, on Phil Bargewell, what can he do? He's half a second off, looking for his first podium of the season. A 4th, a 4th and a 6th so far for the Scotsman. His teammate Paul looking for his first decent result of the season. He's struggled so far, very unfortunate in the opening 3 races. But hopefully his luck will turn as the season goes on. But Johners, what a hugely drama-filled opening 2 laps.
Yes, indeed. I'd have to say, it didn't catch up on the cameras. It looked like Softy probably just got it wrong in the castle section. I'm going to say most drivers try so hard to avoid the wall on the right at the end as they turn into the apex, which you'll see on board with the front runners now. That little wall there, I think it's very easy to just catch it wrong, hit that wall, break the suspension, and you just skid off into the silent. I think the Smokey J's did it in qualifying. I think Softy did the exact same. And this corner here, where the Force India is going through now, that little kink on the left, I think Dan just turned it a bit too soon, caught that wall, and went straight into the silent as well. So major drama on the first lap. One of the championship contenders out, and meanwhile, VSR Josh is putting the foot down. He's broken DRS. He's already 2 seconds clear of the car behind. We've got Phil in third, and hounded closely by the 2 Salvers. Aiden looking at a run down towards the first corner as VSR Josh sets fast lap at 140.4, but that is beat by Bullet on a 140.3, so maybe Bullet will come back later on in the race, who knows, as Jack and Mike continue. Well, actually, sorry, Mike is pitting early. I think that might be damage. Meanwhile, we had James and Smokey J's in on lap 1 for their damage. They came together on lap 1. I'm wondering if it was Smokey just trying to squeeze James out a bit there, and James just being stuck in the wall with them. Both are pitted for the soft tyres. Mike, meanwhile, is on the super softs, it looks like, so looks like his super softs come on, the super softs have come on again, so he's actually stuck in the pits there. I think that's just a little game glitch there. Meanwhile, we've got a fight for 6th between Martin and Jack. Jack has held on to the back of that Force India since the first lap, and the mugging that he suffered as the leaders come to the castle section now. Here's our Josh, safely through that. Millimetre perfect, just so much confidence in the car there, as you can see, as he just has pulled away by nearly half a second already this lap. Phil got a little twitchy through there, although Aiden has followed him with that and all wanted to the ride, so the main fight at the moment is definitely the fight for what will be the last podium spot and the fight for 6th.
Yes, Jack getting ever closer to the Force India of Martin. Owen just behind Jack as well. It is going to be a fight between these 3, I think, for 6th, 7th, 8th at the moment. Bartu has just dropped a few tenths back from Phil in the battle for the podium. But as you said, Bullet so far responding to the lap time that Josh sent last time round. The gap now staying at a steady 2 seconds. It was about 2 seconds as Softy crashed out of the race as Jack is now going to have a great chance on Martin. Look at this extra speed he's got. He's got a little bit of errs left to use. The DRS is now active. Martin won't have that benefit. Will we see a pitter maybe as well already in lap 4? Martin shoots the defender inside line. Does he pit? No, it doesn't. For a second there I thought he was going to dive into the pit lane. But for now, Jack stays behind and somehow the Force India keeping ahead. How's he done that, Johners?
It looked like Jack just came out the slipstream and just had no drive. I don't know if he just eased it off and waited for here, the second DRS zone, or if he's actually like just ran out of DRS because he was low on it. Meanwhile, we've had Phil, Owen and Dean and Ashwell coming very early for super soft tyres, and in fact, I'm just wondering, I think Mike Paul jumped in and Ashley will be in what is currently 9th, but quite a way behind the Force India of Owen. And we've got Phil up in 7th, down in 7th, having stopped. The fight for 5th now between Force India and Renault is still ongoing. As Aiden with a bit clearer now, that'll be interesting to see. Start slowly catch, but it looks like. So we'll be interested to see what Aiden does in comparison to Phil, who's already pitted. If an undercut works or not, we've got yellow flags out. It's Mike, he's in the wall, up turn 3, that's a disaster for him. As he comes back onto the track just behind Dean and Ashley, just ahead of James, who's already pitted. And we've got Smokey J's, who is far behind in P12. I'm surprised there was no safety car for the early first lap incidents there, because that was some major, major roadblock where Softy's parked it, but luckily no one else caught the back of him and retired as well, which would have been, well, if this game had a red flag, there probably would have been a red flag, but of course,
Mike's out the race.
Mike is he's hit the wall at the castle. He's hit the wall at the castle. James just having to drive around that strip in the McLaren there. A disaster for Mike. It looked promising early on, but it's just falling apart, just like the front of his McLaren. As the 3 leaders will come in.
As does Jack from 5th. So Aiden then takes over the front. We see there Smokey going through the castle section where Mike Noon binned it moments ago. Jack's gained 8 places so far in this race, but pitting now will knock him down a few more.
Let's see where Phil is compared to that Sauber of Paul. Comfortably ahead, so is the undercut working? We'll have to see.
As you said, Phil already pitted in the Williams. He's now ahead of Paul, Owen, Jack, Ash, James and Smokey. So whilst Jack was in that fight with a few drivers, Phil has done the undercut. And Softy, Softy's left, and for some reason the screen was flashing as if we were at a rave.
I'm just hoping no one else is left. I don't really want to see that happen. We know Mike's left as well, but he is out of the race, so looks like everyone else still safely in the race, which is all good.
Yeah, this field now started to split up a little bit. Pit stops having come into play. Aiden and Martin, the only ones yet to pit. VSR Josh currently having a quiet race out of the front. He's going to come up to Martin very shortly. Aiden once again choosing to stay out a little longer. Seems to be a strategy he goes for this season. maybe aware of James doing it to him in Bahrain and stealing the win on the final lap. Maybe that's in the back of his mind now. It's not always better to pit earlier and get that fresh air. It can be better to stay out. Manage those times.
If that's the right call though, because Phil is within 15 seconds already, so that the undercut definitely seems to be working strong. As you see Aiden coming to the pit now, it looks like. Indeed he does. The race leader now pits. Will Martin join him? It looks like he might just do so. Yep, the front two will both in, and here's how Joshua now retakes his race lead. We'll put it back up to second. Let's see what tyres Aiden goes for. Ultra Softs come off that Sauber and on goes the Super Softs, so I think everyone's just following that same strategy here. Phil though, miles ahead.
He's done it. Phil with a fantastic undercut. He's got so much clean air, and now he's back into the podium places. So a good start to his race. Of course, pitted 2 laps earlier than Aiden, and it looks to have made the difference. The two Saubers now 4th and 5th behind the Williams driver, and Aiden will come out. I think he has come out to 4th place now, so he's come out ahead, crucially, of his teammate and the two Force Indias.
In 2 laps, Phil's gained about 5 seconds on that Sauber, which is just massive at a track like this. So Phil's really been pushing it hard. All that undercut is that strong, but meanwhile, you know what? I think it is the undercut is just that strong because Jack. Oh, actually, I'll tell you what. Jack and Martin were close together, but Jack is now 4 seconds behind Martin. He's behind the other Force India. So I don't know if Jack's made a mistake because Owen is right behind his teammate, which would suggest the overcut rather didn't work as Owen clips the wall at the castle. Lucky not to end his race there, but that's a very interesting one because it seems Jack's had a nightmare. Maybe he had front wing damage. In fact, going by what I can see on the car from onboard camera, it looks like his wing is damaged, so maybe he has hit a wall somewhere and that's cost him. Yeah, that's clearly not gone well for the Renault then, as he now is down in 8th position. As Bullet sets the fastest lap of the race, the gap is still about 2.5 seconds. Bullet is going by the ERS system on his steering wheel. He's almost out of ERS, so he's definitely pushing hard. Phil's still in 3rd, 4 seconds clear of Aiden, and we've got Paul just a couple of seconds behind. Martin 4 seconds off Paul. The closest fight at the moment seems to be between the two Force Indias in 6th and 7th. Very within 2 seconds of Martin. Phil very much spaced out as Jack is coming to the pits already for a front wing change, so definitely got some damage there and cost himself, as he will now drop down to, well, I was going to say drop down to 11th, but Smokey J's has hit the wall where there's a VSC out.
So, the safety car finally making an appearance. Yep. The safety car did not come out on the open lap despite the 2 crashes, but it took Smokey J's crash at the end of the 6th lap to bring out the VSC. So now drivers will go around at a steady pace for a few moments as the debris gets cleared away. So a chance to run down the order very quickly. Josh then leading from Bullet, sustained top 2 from the last race. Phil back in the podium places, and it's the 2 Saubers of Aiden and Paul. The 2 Force Indians of Martin and Owen, and Ash, James and Jack now running out the top 10. We've had 4 DNFs, Johners, already.
Yeah, Baku came in its victims as always. Mate, I think the big surprise there, obviously being soft to retirement on the first lap, he's not one to make very single mistakes like that often, but I have to say he'd be bitterly disappointed with his season so far. I think with the exception of the opening round, he's made a self-enforced error at every Grand Prix. His spins at Bahrain, the qualifying penalty that could have been avoided in China, are now crashing out of the race on the opening lap of Baku. It's it's rare to see Bullet make rare to see Softy make a mistake like that, but to make 3 mistakes in the first 4 races is just unheard of for someone that's normally consistent and right at the front. It's fair to say the introduction of BSL Josh to the championship is really making him have to maybe perform over his limits and just allows those mistakes to creep in. Meanwhile, Bullet was a lot stronger out of the VSCs, closed the gap to just under 2 seconds again.
Yeah, I saw at the end, VSC came at the right moment for Bullet. Josh was backing off while Bullet was building up the speed on the final straight, so Bullet was going full speed. Josh had to pick up the pace again, and Bullet was able to pull back a full second on that start-finish straight, so Bullet really taking advantage of it there, and the gap down to 2 seconds with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, yes, this race has been going quite quickly. It's sort of calmed down and settled though, with a lot of cars far enough apart. The closest battle being between the two leaders, but they are 2 seconds apart. Although James down in 9th is closing in on 8th place Demon Ash, but having pitted on lap 1 on being on the hardest of the 3 compounds for this race, it's going to be tricky for him to make the move and take 8th position. I think James will be a little disappointed with his form, well, with the results tonight. It wasn't his fault for you opening that collision, and China just didn't quite work out for him. He did gain quite a few places from qualifying, but not as much as he probably would have hoped. Meanwhile, Bennett is closing rapidly, I have to say. It's now a second and a half to count between the two leaders. But Bennett doesn't appear to have any ERS left, while BSR Josh definitely does have some in reserve to push away if needed. Meanwhile, Aiden's starting to close a bit on Phil in 3rd, so it'll be interesting to see how the 2 laps difference in tyre life will be towards the end of the race. Meanwhile, Paul just sitting steady in 5th, Martin on his own in 6th, pulling away from his teammate in 7th. We've got Demon Ash in 8th, who looks to be getting closed in on by James in 9th, and then on his own down in 10th. Probably going after the fastest lap now is Jack in the Renault, the sole surviving Renault. I think Renault will be very, very disappointed with how this race has turned out.
Indeed. Jack in 10th, Softy in 14th. He's not going to score any points, so Softy's only going to score 12 points from today. Whilst it looks like Josh is going to take the maximum 50 as Jack gets a 5-second stop-go penalty for speed in the pit lane. He's in the pits again for the 3rd time this race. What's going on?
After the fastest lap, it has to be said. The fastest lap currently is a 1:40.199 by Bulletproof, just under a tenth ahead of VSR Josh. Everyone else is struggling to even get into the 140s. Only Martin has managed that so far, 1:40.7. But Phil, other 1:41 flat, and then 2 Salvas in the high 41s, and then everyone else in the 42s and 43s. So there's been a pretty big gulf between the fastest laps and the general pace between some of the guys in this race. You see, Phil was only about 6 seconds off VSR Josh after his stop.
And Jack's out of the race. If he's going for fastest lap, he's not going to get it. He's crashed out. He becomes the 5th retirement from the race. And wow, Renault cap off what's been a disappointing race for them. They're going to lose huge points in the constructors, and crucially for Softy and the drivers too. Not the race Renault would be looking for coming here in Baku.
And just to add insult to injury there, as Jack crashed out, VSR Josh sets the new fastest lap with a 1:40.0.
So the gap then, back up to 2 seconds.
In pass.
And it looks like for the first time in 31 races we are going to see a back-to-back winner in TGP1. It's been 31 races since we last saw that. Quite remarkable, to be honest. We haven't seen a back-to-back winner for quite a while, and it looks like this will finally be the moment it's going to happen unless Josh gets some sort of run. Look in the closing laps, and Bullet picks up a 3-second time penalty, which you sure would then hand the win to Josh. Surely that's it now, Jonas, with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, I think that's it, unless VSR Josh does the unthinkable and crashes out, which I can't see him doing. This is well and truly in the bag for the Haas, and it'll be, I believe, his 3rd win of the season, and he's starting to show that performance that people were expecting before the start of the season. As Bullet now hits the wall. So
I think Phil might have damage too. Phil appeared to hit the castle section. Aiden's all over Phil now, and Aiden's lost it. He's lost it. He lost the car behind Phil. It looked like he was going to get his moment onto the straight, and Phil's really struggling too. Could Paul take advantage here? Yellow flag's out in sector 2.
For a podium here as Demon Ash is also in the water castle section facing the wrong way. It's all beginning to kick off again.
Oh, get out of there, Ash. You're going to be causing a roadblock.
He's struggling to turn it round there, as I've said. Now let's see what Paul can do, because there's definite damage to Phil's car. I don't think he's lost the full front. Oh, he has. He's lost his full front wing.
Will Phil choose to pit then? There's only 2 laps to go.
He's going to have to. He's going to have to.
He does.
He's got both front wing.
That's a podium. Crucially, take it away as Ash does retire from the race. Paul then will go into 4th place, and now can he get past his teammate? The gap, I think, is about 2 seconds. Bulletproof is now down to 1.7 behind Josh, but with that 3-second time penalty for a corner cut, Josh can breathe. He may not know he's got the penalty, but now the Force Indians, the big gainers from this, up to 5th and 6th. So they're having a race to remember at the moment. But Paul and Aiden looks like it could be the final scrap for the podium, could be the scrap to watch in these closing laps. And Phil down to 8th.
Aiden with noticeable damage on that front wing as well. He's not had a podium at all this season. It looked like it just got gifted to him on a plate, but he's now smashed that plate onto the floor in shock. It seems as Paul now closing in. Will there be team orders down at Sauber? Who knows? I doubt there will be. But oh, as I say that, Aiden lets Paul through. He's onto the podium. So that is very interesting. It looks like that might be a team call actually, because Martin is catching very quickly in the Force India and is within 2 seconds of Paul now in third. So I think that would definitely be a team call to maximise the possibility of the podium. Get the faster guy ahead, let the guy with the damage hold off the car chaser behind. So let's see what happens. If Martin's going after the podium, he's going to have to catch up quick and make the move on Aiden immediately as we start the penultimate lap. VSL Josh with a 2.5 second lead now, comfortably in the lead. He's got nothing to really worry about from Bullet behind. Even if Bullet somehow catches and passes, he's got to build a 3-second lead in a lap and a half now. As the two Saubers line astern, the Force India behind. The fight for third is the fight to watch in these last 2 laps.
Here's Paul, Aiden and Martin 1.2 behind Aiden now. I think it was the wise call from Sauber. With that front wing damage remaining, he was never going to be able to stay ahead of Paul for long. And the section where he did it, the castle section, would have held up Paul quite a bit, so he let him through before those tricky corners. And Paul now, hopefully for him, can Paul clear and finally get his first podium of the season. Paul showed great pace in the pre-season races, but for whatever reason it hasn't converted into the actual season itself. But it's good to see Paul back where he should be, back in P3 and looking good for now, a podium. But Martin will need to clear Aiden. The gap is less than a second now. He'll look to get him on the start finish straight and then maybe do a last lap threat to Paul. But Martin on Aiden, do you think Martin can get Paul too, Jonas? Surely not, with 1 lap to go.
I think it might just be too much of an ask. He needs to get past the Sauber of Aiden. Like, fourth is definitely there for the taking. Aiden's car is badly damaged on the front, and he's also running very low ERS compared to Martin, who's got a healthy chunk left to use. So he's definitely on the attack for this last lap as we come towards number 62. Aiden, it'll be interesting to see how he performs around these next 2 corners. Obviously, the damage wing makes ease the left and right pinks very hard to do as we watch now. Aiden will have to back off ever so slightly, narrowly avoid the wall, but that lets Martin go flat out and on a run now. He's going to have a look to the left. He gets in before the DRS even opens. He's turned up with the ERS on the car. Aiden's out of charge. Martin with a healthy amount left will now chase after Paul in the final lap. And you know what? It might be on here.
It is less than a second the gap now, I think. Sorry, what was that, Jonas?
We've got a fight for 7th as well. James is 7/10 clear of Phil as we start the final lap between those two. That'll be interesting to see. Phil on fresh ultra softs, James on very warm soft tyres. It'll be fascinating to see what they can do on the last lap, what happens between them. Meanwhile, the fight for third is ongoing. Can Martin close up in the castle section? It'll be interesting to see if he can. Paul has got, I would say, a little bit of fuel in reserve, judging by the warning light flashing on Martin's the field indicator on that Force India. Well, Paul, it's only just flashed up now, so he's got a bit more reserve on engine power, although for ERS, but Martin is definitely going for it. He's closing in. Can he get an ERS for the final straight? We'll see. Meanwhile, though, coming through the last little corners now onto the main straight. It's going to be 3 out of 4 for the Haas of VSL Josh. He's taken this championship by the scruff of the neck, and he is without doubt the favourite. It's another win for the Haas, a perfectly controlled week, a double victory for him ahead of Bullet. He will take a 2nd place even with a penalty, such as the gap. Meanwhile, the fight for third, Paul looks to have got clear a little bit in the last few corners, so I'd have to say that is safe for him. He'll be able to bring that one home and get Sauber's, I believe, Sauber's first podium of the season. It's going to be P3 for Paul McGuinness as he crosses the line now and takes it. Martin gets 4th, Aiden will get home in 5th, and then we've got Owen in the 2nd Force India. He'll bring it home in 6th, as the fight for 7th goes on. You know what? It's going to be close between the Ferrari and the Williams. I think James just has it and he will hold on for 7th there. There we go. the screen's just got a bit mad there on the time screen as we finished the race there. Still 8th, James 7th, Owen taking home 6th. And that was a rather, well, slightly chaotic, a little bit calm, but an interesting Azerbaijan Grand Prix as we have the podium.
Well, we've seen more, I think. It is Josh who takes the victory for the 3rd time this season. He increases his championship lead over his closest rivals, Bullet, once again with another 2nd place finish. A very good opening night for him. He'll look to kick off from that now, but Paul with his first podium of the season. And it's good to see that face also back on the top step. So, Josh is your winner from Bullet and Paul. Martin 4th, Aidan 5th once again, just missing out on that podium. Seems to get no luck at the moment in the closing stages of the race. James 7th, Phil 8th, Ash 9th, and Jack did run out the top 10. So, Johners, is Josh going to be able to run away with this now, or can the ones behind do something a little bit, you know, to close that gap down in the coming races?
Well, they've definitely got their work cut out. Josh is in brilliant form. With the exception of that unfortunate incident in Bahrain, he probably could have won the first 4 races in a row. He's definitely the one to beat, and at the moment I'd have to say it's very difficult for anyone to stop him. Riddick tried his best tonight but couldn't quite do it, and Softy is just a man that seems to be a bit out of form right now. He'll be looking to work hard this next week and get that Renault back up there and find that consistency that has served him so well in the past. He's not a 2-time GP1 champion for nothing, and I'm sure he'll get back on form next week where we go to Spain and Monaco.
Indeed, October the 16th, next Tuesday. Join us for that, same time, 7:15 PM. And a throw to TGP2 tomorrow. Be sure to tune into that stream with commentary from Mike and Aidan, 2 of your drivers from TGP1, 2 former champions from TGP2. TGP2 proving to be a hit already. Barry getting his first win last season. He was watching the stream today, cheering on Aidan. Aidan could only get 5th and 6th, but 2 more exciting races in TGP1. And as you said, John, as we're back next.
So I'll have to wrap it up. It's been a very fascinating night of race this week. Monaco always throws up some mayhem. Spain, he was very strong in the pre-season tests, dominated that race as well. So it'd be fascinating to see if anyone can rise up and challenge him before it starts to look like a runaway championship season. But be sure to be here next week, 7 o'clock, well 7:10, same time as always, as we continue with the season for week 3 of TGP1. And of course, come back tomorrow for the TGP2, where we'll be again in China and Azerbaijan, where we'll see